What's up, guys? Fellow retainers, fellow spiritual aspirants. Shout out to you guys, those of you that are riding with me, that are on this journey of self-development. Also, shout out to the watchers, the lurkers, whatever you guys are that just watch stuff. Don't comment, don't like, don't share. You just watch. I don't know what you're doing. You're just getting information free of charge and not offering any sort of support. I don't know if you are jealous or too proud or what it is, but it's weird. But shout out to you guys too. Here's the thing, you guys. I'm offering information on this channel free of charge. I'm offering information that I believe is empowering to individuals, that will help individuals become more powerful and sovereign on their journey. I offer this information for free. Anything that I have, any knowledge I've gained, any wisdom I've gained on my journey, I share freely. I expect nothing in return. There are others who will get knowledge and keep it to themselves because they want to use that knowledge to have power over other people, to be able to manipulate other people. I love the analogy is, imagine if you were the first person to discover how to make fire, ever. Now what you could do then is you could teach your fellows how to make fire and empower them with that knowledge, or you could keep that knowledge to yourself and use that knowledge to overpower them, to be some sort of sorcerer or magician, to manipulate people, to scare people, whatever. So we always have to be watchful, mindful, and vigilant of false teachers, false prophets, those who seek to gain something personally in exchange for whatever they give to you. When I give information freely, I'm rewarded with spiritual gifts, with protection, with blessings. And so in a sense, I do get something out of this for myself. But you see, I give this information freely. All right? So, let's get into the topic. I wanted to comment here on some of the stuff that's going on, some of the stuff that's being talked about in the mainstream and the news. There is talk of a new variant, very scary, very deadly, okay? And talk of the return of certain mandates. By the way, I'm very strategic with the language I use. There's certain things I'm not going to say because I know that I'm talking to people here that already know, that are already awake to this stuff. And if you're not, there are probably better channels for you to check out to educate yourself. But I am not going to take the risk of losing this platform by using certain language. And I also, by the way, encourage, if you are going to comment anything, to be very strategic with the language you use. I think we all know what I'm talking about, and I do not need to be specific. All right. So what I wanted to share about this talk of potential mandates, and apparently they're already being enforced in certain places. So what I see here, you guys, maybe they will try and reintroduce what they did in 2020. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is what I see right now is that they're discussing this. Maybe they will try and enforce this. If they do, it is our moral obligation to not comply. When authority figures are acting outside of righteous and moral principles, it is our moral obligation to disobey and to not comply with those. What our job is to comply and obey with natural law, with God's law, with law that is immutable, eternal, and applies to all sentient beings. Now, if they do come back with these mandates, quote unquote mandates, very important to remember that a mandate is not a law, and you are not required to follow it. and we must be willing to accept any consequence that comes with that non-compliance, and do so without any fear. So part of what's going on here, this is why I felt compelled to share this, is because there's a chance that these mandates and what they're discussing won't actually come to pass. And the reason why they'd even be discussing this, you guys, is there is psychological warfare at play here. All right? There is obviously spiritual warfare at play here. But what's going on here, what you're hearing about from the news, from the screens, is meant to plant seeds in your psyche. And then they want to water those seeds with things like fear, okay? And when we give too much attention to these things, we actually are engaging in this law of manifestation, and we are helping events that we actually don't want to unfold. So we have to be very wise and discerning as these agendas take place. And so let's say hypothetically that they do start cracking down again in certain ways. Now, what they would really like, for those of us who are awake, those of us who have been chosen, what they would really like is to get the best of us, to get our goat, so to speak. The language is so funny, isn't it? What they would really like is for us to react emotionally, because when we are in our emotional state, when we are in fear, we are not thinking with our clearest mind. By the way, part of why I continue to talk about semen retention is because if you're a man, that's going to put you in your clearest mind. That's going to give you, if you have control over your sexual urges, then you now have control over your emotional state. Yeah, you'll experience emotions, but they no longer dictate how you act. Just like, yeah, you experience sexual desire, but that no longer dictates how you act, because you have now achieved a level of mastery over this. So when we become masters of our own domain, masters of the flesh, that's the work, right? That's the work we're called to do here. So that includes when they try to introduce fear into your psyche. They try to introduce worry and doubt about the future. What they want to do is remove from you any hope you have about a brighter future. That's a psychological and that's a spiritual attack. So we cannot fall victim to those attacks. We must remain engaged in positive thinking,